Oh, hang on. It makes me continue. There we go. Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Liz Crocker, and I'm a learning program developer at the Royal BC Museum. And welcome to RBCM at Outside Restoration. And so I'm here today on the beautiful, though very rainy and wet today, homelands and territories of the Saanich and the Lekwungen speaking people, the Saanich First Nations and the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful stretch of land, but it has been heavily used by settlers and the city ever since since the beginning of the city. So we're going to have a look at that today, at the restoration of the natural systems that are happening here. So I'm very grateful to be able to work here and be here on this spot here. And my guests are in the background. I'm going to introduce them in a minute, but I wanted to say, if you're in the Zoom room, you can use the chat to communicate with us. If you're in the Facebook, do so as well. My colleague Jenny is in the room, and she will forward on comments and questions to us. And usually we save time at the end, but if there's something as we go along that's really pressing and you want to ask, please feel free to ask. And I wanted to mention that the last program, RBCM at Outside of this year, 2021, is next month on December 2nd. Yes, December 2nd. It's a Thursday at noon again. And we're going to be doing a walking tour of a section of downtown Victoria, BC, as called a Vietnamese Canadian experience. And I'm going to be doing this walk with Crystal Fan, who's an artist. And her family came to Victoria in the 1970s. And so she's going to like guide us through different areas of the city that are very memorable and important to her family and family experience in Victoria. So join us for that. That's going to be really interesting. But without further ado, I'm going to turn around. Now, apparently when we're speaking loud enough, you don't hear the rain too much on the umbrella. I've got to keep the umbrella up so our equipment stays dry. But I'm going to flip the camera over and turn it over to our guests here in a minute. There we go. All right. So with me today are Eva Riccius and Rick Hatch from Saanich Parks. And so I've explained where we are already at Cuthbert Holmes Parks, way off in the distance. You can see that building off in the distance. That's Tillicum Mall. There's a movie theater there. So it's a very heavily developed area. And these folks have been working on a restoration project for a while now. So we'll start with you, Eva. Why don't you introduce us to what's going on here?
Thanks, Liz, for having us. I'm really excited to be here today. We're standing in front of the latest bit of restoration that's been happening in this park. There's been restoration going on for a number of years now. Some what I would call smaller scale in the forest, removal of invasive plants like ivy and holly, things like that. And then we've had some bigger restorations because we have a new highway interchange on the other side of the park that has allowed us to gain some funds from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, and they've done some work to mitigate the impacts of that interchange. There's been 2 new constructed wetlands and some restoration in the estuary of this river behind us, which is called the Colquitts River.
Okay, that's the Colquitts back there. Yeah. And what we wrote in the description for this program was that this is the UN Decade of Restoration.
That's
so
right.
Did you decide to start the restoration because of that, or it just sort of coincided?
I think it was a really happy coincidence.
Right.
And certainly we jumped on the ability to champion and showcase a lot of the work we do in Saanich Parks on restoration of ecosystems. And this is by far our biggest project here. The mayor declared the UN Decade of Restoration in Saanich last January.
Oh. Didn't know that. Well, that's exciting. So let's see. What do we want to look at next? Rick, do you want to maybe do you want to say a few things about it, or start to show us what you're doing here?
Sure. My name is Rick Hatch. I'm the assistant supervisor to the natural area section for Saanich Parks. And like Eva mentioned, 2 of the big things that we've committed to for the UN Decade on restoration is not only stuff that we've already been doing, like the creek restoration in Colquitts Creek, but also if you could scan over to that big gulf in the background there. So one of the things that we committed to is doing a program called the Gary Oak Drip Line, or Gary Oak Drip Line 100. We don't really have a new title for it, but basically what it means is we're going to take half a dozen of these beautiful mature gray oaks within Saanich, some in parks, some on Boulevard, and hopefully some in people's backyards. And under the drip line of each of those trees, we're going to remove invasives, English hawthorn in the case of this part, or Himalayan blackberry is another one. We're going to replant it. We're going to mulch it. We're going to get different herbaceous plants in there. We're going to restore under each of these mature gray oaks. Unfortunately, we're down to about 3% of the mature gray oak forests in the Victoria area. So even these single trees mean a lot. And on the most part in Saanich and other municipalities, the gray oaks are almost completely inundated with invasive species. The ones on boulevards are completely surrounded by sidewalks. So what we want to do is showcase what we can do, the different ways to restore, and showcase that to the public. We want them to take their big oaks in their backyards and do the same thing. There's tons of things you can do, not just remove the invasives, but replace them with native plants, diversifying the plant species, the shrub layers. And if you get up close to that oak, and it's right on the river, it's a really beautiful spot. A few years ago, one of a student with, I think it was with Promotion or UVic, I'm not too sure, he started that program by removing the English hawthorn trees. And then just a couple weeks or a couple months ago, we recut some of those English hawthorn trees, and it looks fantastic. It's coming in like it should, like we want it to.
Wow.
So, and then on top of that, we have our Coquet's Creek restoration. We've been working on the Coquet's Creek for several years now. We try to do 100 or 200 meters each year. And like Eva mentioned, this is a section that is in Cuthbert Holmes Park. And what you're looking at now is a 30 by 30 habitat outpost, if you want to say, and it's directly connected to the Coquet's River. So we took the old bank that was built probably 50 or 60 years ago to basically turn the Coquet's into a ditch, and we've broken through the dam. We have an area about 40 square meters coming off the creek. That's same level as the bottom of the creek. And this area here is tidal, so this will actually flood, every day. This is a little extreme. It doesn't normally flood this much.
So is this, sorry to interrupt, is this high tide?
This is, no, tide's coming up. It's a couple hours from high tide.
Oh, so it'll get even,
close.
wow,
Yeah.
it's going to get even higher.
But
Okay.
this last week with the high water we've had, where we're standing now is flooded.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. Yeah. And have a look at that where we're standing. It's already, it's pretty mushy.
we kind of knew what was going to happen every year. This actually with the king tide, this will flood, and we knew that when we designed this feature. And then if you look over where that big rock is, just above it is another little bit of a berm, and we've created a frog pond where the seepage from above will fill it up, and also the rainfall. And then on a king tide, you will actually get the tide flooding as well. And there used to be a whole bunch of habitat logs. If you look over to the right, those poplar logs used to be over by the frog pond, but with the high rain a few days ago, they actually got swept away and got high-sided on that little mound there.
Oh, that just happened.
That just happened.
Oh, I didn't understand. Wow. Just from the big rains that we've had and the flooding. Okay, so you mentioned frogs. I love frogs. Are there frogs in the frog pond?
Yeah, within a day or two, we saw some native frogs. I don't think they've been identified, but there were 6 several days within a week. You saw frogs coming from who knows where.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Then, we have a bullfrog problem.
Yes.
In Cuthbert Holmes, and we know they weren't bullfrogs, so that's good.
Okay.
So that's an awesome feature. You'll notice all these little trembling aspen trees. So part of the deal with the Ministry of Transportation is we got funds to create a new trembling aspen grove. So we've planted a couple hundred so far. What you're looking at now, if you scan over to the right along the Coquet's. So this will hold probably several hundred trembling aspen trees in the next couple of years.
Okay, and so trembling aspens, what do they attract in terms of wildlife?
Well, it's a tree species that there would have been more groves within this area, but they were either mowed down for housing and that sort of thing. There is a small patch of trembling aspen in Coquet's Park that is still there. Unfortunately, when they did the Mackenzie interchange, they had to take down some trembling aspen, so that's why we got the money. And it's a good chunk of money. So it's a 10-year program. The first 3 years will be basically restoration like this establishment. A couple more years of a bit more planting and establishment, and 5 years of maintaining. So this is
okay. Now I see when you were talking about the frogs, Eva started to pull a brochure out. She was getting excited. So because this is where the public can be involved in restoration, right? Is helping and noticing what's coming back to these places. So tell us about this.
That's right. This is our fairly new brochure about plants and animals in Saanich Parks. And it just gives you some examples of what you could see in any of our parks with natural areas. So these are all native plants and animals, and I was just checking to see if there was a frog, and it does have the Pacific tree frog, although that might not be the one that's here.
Yeah,
but,
I heard you're not quite
yeah.
sure yet, but
Yeah.
they weren't the invasive bullfrogs,
Yeah.
which is, so that's great. That's what you want to see, is the native species coming
Yeah.
back.
Well, what's exciting about this project, it was done in what's called the fisheries window, which is the period between the middle of August and the middle of September, when it's safe to do work in streams in the southern part of Vancouver Island.
Okay.
And very quickly after the first bit of work was done, Rick was down here the evening of, and
The first evening when it flooded for the first time.
Amazing story. You tell it.
And there's a local.
And if you can speak up a bit, Rick.
Oh,
Apparently the sound is a little bit low. Yeah,
there's a local blue heron named Harold or Howard, I believe.
Howard the blue heron.
Yeah. So
okay.
the first evening when this pool flooded, when we broke through the dam, created all the rock and the logs and stuff, I came back with my wife just at sundown. And as this pool was flooding, he was right in the middle of it with his toes getting wet, just kind of checking things out. And he's been here, he lives around here somewhere. He's been here almost every day. Just a couple days ago, we got a picture of him on top of that dead snake, and also another picture on this fence fluffing up his wings.
Oh.
So he's been fishing. You scan over to the right. This is another of the habitat alcoves that we've created. You can't see it now, but right where where the creek edge used to be, we have a flat rock. It's what we call it our hunting rock. And within days, he was standing on it, and we got a picture of him eating the crayfish.
Oh,
So
awesome.
it's
So there's
fantastic.
crayfish in there.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh, and there goes the duck. It's
Yeah,
like
we've been watching mallards.
male mallard.
And we've had a local kingfisher checking it out. We've got, what else do we have? Cooper's hawks.
Kestrel.
Kestrel showed up in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, wonderful.
And in Cuthbert Holmes forest, about a year ago, the 10th Grade Scouts, they built some nesting platforms for great horned owls. And our urban forestry crew, our arborists, they climbed 3 Doug fir trees, established 3 of them within about 100 meters, which is too close for more than one pair of nesting. But we knew that the local male who was looking for a female at the time, within days, they started using one of the nests, and there's 3 successful outlets that were born this year and are thriving within Cuthbert Holmes Park. So that's a fantastic. We have swallow boxes, we have wren boxes. In one of the ponds over down the Berm Trail, we have a wood duck box, lots of bat boxes. So lots of opportunity. We're trying to, these logs behind us here, you can't really tell, but there's, we've taken a chainsaw and we've cut out a huge chunk of it and then created salamander habitat.
It's what kind of habitat?
For salamanders.
Salamanders. Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
we have a piece taken out. We put the lid back on, but there's little hollows with little entrances at each corner, and they can use it as habitat. Unfortunately, these logs floated away, so we have to upright them. Right now, they're upside down for the salamanders, so that's not good. But every piece of log, like one of the problems with Cuthbert Holmes Park when it was developed, decades ago, all the woody material was removed for farming. So if you look in all these hawthorn forests, which is English hawthorn invasive,
which were planted, or they kind of grow like weeds, or
they probably came with the birds with the seeds. They're everywhere.
And then they just spread really easily.
So one of the problems is there's no woody debris. There's on the forest floor, which there's nothing there. And traditionally in a forest, typical forest, there'd be old logs, and that's all really good habitat for every creature, for plant diversity, for that animal diversity. So when we're creating these new trembling aspen groves, but also if you look over here to the left, there's some Doug fir trees planted. When those hawthorns are removed, we're going to support the trembling aspen grove with Doug firs, big leaf maples, and other tree species that should be here. We don't want to create just a trembling aspen grove in the middle of nowhere. We have to support it on both sides and all basically to create a forest around it. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay.
So basically what we're doing is we're rewilding this fairly urban park, because I don't know if, well, maybe with the noise on the umbrella, like we're standing here, we can hear the Trans-Canada Highway, the cars on the road. And as Liz pointed out at the beginning, there is a big parking lot and a mall and a movie theater right behind her. And we're in the middle of a city. And what we're recreating here is a patch of wildlife friendly habitat.
And I know that this is already a really well-loved place that the locals love to walk here. Jenny, I think a comment came in from somebody that was here last night.
Yes. So there's a question from Sandy that asked that they were down there yesterday and several of the aspens looked uprooted. Was there considerable damage done, and can it be fixed, or do you have to wait until the next fisheries window?
No, we the fisheries window only allows us to do it's in-stream work. So anything that's outside the stream, we can work on. I have a crew here today working on the Trembling Aspen. We
What happened?
well, some of those logs that moved, they got swept into the Trembling Aspen. They took down the snow fence, went through the snow fence, went through a bunch of trees, and plunked down on the high spots.
Oh,
Not a big deal. We've overplanted this with aspen. You'll notice that they're planted about a meter apart. We're trying to recreate what a normal Trembling aspen grove would establish like. So we're overplanting it. We've only staked some of them. Some of them are leaning over. Some of them will snap. Some of them will break. That's all part of a natural process. So we want this to turn into what a natural Trembling aspen grove would look like. If you overplant it, typically what they do is the lower ones, when they get shaded out, they'll die off like some other tree species will do. That's what we want. We want those ones to die off. They're great habitat for birds, even with dead snags. So the trees that were damaged, not a big deal. We're uprighting them. Some of them were actually pulled out of the ground. We'll replant them. We only have 200 aspen planted now. I've got 700 more at nursery. We'll hopefully put another couple hundred in this year. These are only two of the habitat outposts for the fish that we've developed. Opposite side of here, we're going to create another one and maybe 3 more next year. So in this 200-meter stretch of Cuthbert River, we hope to have 6 of these habitat structures for fish. And the cool thing about them is when the coho are returning, they're actually hiding spots for predators. When they're getting chased by we've actually seen a seal. We're 2 kilometers from the ocean, I think.
right.
Or a
At
kilometer
least
and a half.
one.
Yeah, at least a kilometer.
They'll come up. They'll come
From
up here.
saltwater. And
Right.
they also get chased by the river otters. So this, you can't see now, but there's lots of logs, there's stumps, there's boulders, and we've created these little hiding spots for the coho when they're coming up to escape. But also when the juvenile trout are leaving after a year being in the creek, it's habitat for feeding. We've planted over close to 3,000 or 2,500 different native species that are salt tolerant, so they can actually handle the tidal waters. And they're buried in these ponds. You can see a bit of them on the edges, but that will attract the insects, and it basically it's a feeding zone for the juvenile cutthroat trout.
All those food webs come back.
Yeah.
Really. And so, sorry, were you saying the seals, animals like seals, will use areas like this as protection from predators out at sea?
Seals are
The
predators.
seals are the
Yeah, when
predators.
they're-
Okay, I was thinking they're hiding from.
No, when they're
whales.
chasing the salmon,
Okay.
before it used to be like the Cuthbert River really is just a wide ditch. There's very little. There's no spawning gravel. There's no rock. There's basically no habitat. It's just like a ditch. So we're trying to recreate and bring all the good stuff back by having these sloped areas going into them. It creates excellent hiding habitat. It's going to be a feeding zone for fish species going up and down. It attracts more insects, the birds. I mean, we've seen several different bird species that we've never seen here before, or at least not for a couple decades. Even the quails are coming back.
Yeah.
So we're trying to create as much habitat. The more woody debris we get established in here and laying on the ground, it all contributes to the habitat for every layer.
Right. And
So Rick, you said we're gonna plant, I don't know, you just said thousands of more plants.
Yeah.
Do you think there's gonna be opportunity for communities to get involved with that?
Yeah, when the crew was working here a couple months ago planting, we had a local mom and her son. I think they were homeschooling. I'm not sure how they got a hold of us, but they showed up and they actually helped us plant here. And we have scout groups that are available. That come here to help plant. Next weekend on the 27th, we have a volunteer program with the lead steward for pulling the other volunteer program. He's going to be doing some invasive removal. We have in a couple of weeks we're meeting one of the schools. I think it's Philipum Elementary School up on the berm here to plant some seedlings, probably some fir and some western red seedlings. So we're pulling together park stewardship coordinator Katie. She's in touch with all the school groups, the local youth groups, you name it, and we and even the bat boxes. We've established bat boxes with scouting groups and school groups. The duck boxes, all that stuff is available for schools that are keen.
Right.
And a lot of teachers are looking for opportunities like that. And
Yeah.
Cuthbert Holmes Park is going to be a fantastic opportunity for planting and all sorts of stuff for the next 3 years.
That's really great. And I know even across the province, across the country, probably across the world, restoration projects like this often do use volunteers. So I encourage folks, if you're not from around here, to see where you might be able to help out in your own local restoration. And I know, especially with the pandemic, people were looking for outdoor volunteering experience, and this is a great way to help out. And then when you start to learn the native species that are in your environment, you really do form a connection with the place that you're living in.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really evident in the naming of the heron,
Right.
Howard, which we always get his name wrong, but it does give a deep connection to the land, which is really important and something that we're working hard on at Saanich Parks.
Well, I wanted to ask you about natural intelligence, which is something that Saanich Parks. So, what is natural intelligence?
The way I describe natural intelligence is that it's everyone's ability to connect to nature in their own way, at their own pace. And so some folks are really just learning and exploring and are keen to find out more. And then I know we also have many people in our region and beyond who already have deep connections with nature. And so what can we do to help offer programs and ideas to further deepen those connections? So that's where we get into stewardship.
Right. And so like you've got these fences and the snow fences that the orange snow fences back there that Rick was talking about. And so the things that need to be protected are clearly marked, but then you're not telling people not to come. There's lots of areas to walk around here. So you're encouraging people to come down and
well, yeah, and that's the beauty of working in an urban park system that has a huge portion of natural areas is that by encouraging people to get to know their own local backyard, something that's close to home, and then learning about nature close to home, you, or at least I can speak for myself, I have a greater appreciation of nature elsewhere. And certainly I am encouraged to help other agencies protect natural places that I will never go to, for example, in the Arctic.
right, right. Jenny, are there any questions or comments? And also, if you could let me know the time, because of my rain apparatus, I cannot get to the time. Oh, Rick has it.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
absolutely.
Excellent. Got it.
So far we don't have any more questions or comments. But for time we are at 12:22, if that helps. But at the moment we do not have any comments. The only comment I would say is I live near that area and I walk there all the time. So and I didn't know there was so much work being put towards restoring this land. So it's very exciting to hear about the work that Saanich Parks is doing. It's very exciting.
Yeah, especially after we all saw the highway going in and all could see, you know, the highways and roads always destroy things. So it's awesome when there can be some habitat restoration happening at the same time. And I don't think you can see them, but there is a bat box way up there. Yeah, I think it might be too far away for the camera to get it. So how long do you think? I mean, I've heard that bats. Oh, is there one here? Yeah. Oh, there's one right there. It takes a while for bats to come back. Any signs of bats?
We do monitor the boxes. Sometimes we have seen very few bats being, or some of the bat boxes being utilized so far, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
We're quite a ways away from existing forest line, and that's where they'll be nesting. But these boxes are designed as maternity boxes, so they'll hopefully attract the pregnant females in the springtime.
Right.
So if you do a count in the spring, you basically count how many females are, and then you do another count a couple months later. And hopefully the young have been born, and then you recount so you can tell how many new bats there are. But the counts have been low, but that's typical. They might not find these for years. It just depends on the habitat surrounding them.
Right, but they're there. They're ready.
They're available, yeah, and it's a great learning experience too. People ask about them all the time, and it's a great way to educate.
Yeah, and I see a couple of comments just on this.
Yeah, so there's a couple comments and another question. I'll read the comments first. One was from Sandy again, which is, I know myself and my neighbors are very appreciative of all the work that has gone into this. This is definitely a gem. Another comment is from Donna, is so happy to see the hawthorn disappearing. I live in Esquimalt and do enjoy this park. And then there's a question from Ian, which is, are there any birdhouses or bat houses plans available from Saanich Park or through the museum? Which I think, like, if to like rent them or to use them on people's own properties, I believe that's what that question is.
Yeah, so I know that we don't offer them, though. That said, they might be in our store, Jenny, in the gift shop, possibly birdhouses, maybe at certain times of the year. But officially, no, we don't sell any. Eva, what about Saanich?
We have a link to some plans off of our page that's called Natural Intelligence. So if you just do a little Google search, Saanich Parks, Natural Intelligence, And then if you click into activity, I believe it is, there should be another link. It's not our own, but it takes you to another site that has information about bird and bat boxes.
Yeah.
Another great source is Habitat Acquisition Trust.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So locally, Habitat Acquisition Trust, HAT, has a good website. And yeah, you can, if you're handy and like to build things like that, there's lots of good plans online. Make sure you're getting a good one that's good for your local species. But yeah, good question. Yeah.
That's the river we're seeing flowing there.
Well, I wonder, can you pick that up there, Jenny? You see how fast the water's moving in the background there? Yeah.
Oh, wait, if you just pause, yes, now whoa, that's going fast.
It's going pretty fast. And so what are those fish signs for over there, Rick?
Just for, we want people to avoid walking over there.
Oh, okay.
It's just to, it's to make it
It's for the fish.
There are fish.
Stay away. Yeah. It's fish.
You can see where the line is, how high the water is.
On the fence.
A foot and a half.
Oh, right.
Yes,
see where the leaves. Yeah. So this is, none of folks can see that, where the leaves are stuck on the snow fence. That's how high the water went on Monday.
It was about the top of the second rail. Is how high the water was.
Let's do that again, Rick.
Yeah. The water was about, I think, above the second rail.
Holy smokes!
A few days ago, I think on Monday it was at
wow.
water mark.
Wow.
And if you look, towards the back, there's a really neat stand of grand fir trees. There's a lot of grand fir trees in Cuthbert Holmes Park, but unfortunately, a lot of the mature ones are dying off, probably mostly due to drought stress. But right in the middle there's this beautiful grove of grand fir trees, and over the next few years, we are going to remove probably most of the English hawthorn, the invasive English hawthorn, and we're going to replant it with black hawthorn trees, cascara trees. We've got some Oregon ash trees that we've planted recently. And before the Trembling Aspen Grove was taken down where the bypass was made, the Mescalis from Satin Flower Nurseries, they salvaged some of the seeds from these Oregon ash trees, which are pretty rare. They've grown them over the last 2 or 3 years, and we've now purchased trees back from them. Beautiful 6-foot
Oregon ash. Yeah. Oh, and that's a native species.
It's a native species, and it's a red listed species.
Oh,
super rare. So we were actually hoping to plant several dozen back into the what we're doing here. They're great species to support the Trembling Aspen Grove. Doug firs, we're planting big leaf maples. Probably a few red alders, but that's not typically what you'd see. It's sort of typical along any creek system in the lower part of Victoria. You usually see the red alders mixed with the western red cedars and the big leaf maples. That's almost what we see along our creeks. We'll put a few here and there. Yeah, and then all the shrub layers and then all the herbaceous layer. It's all, right now it's basically a monoculture of English hawthorn trees, and we're going to replace it with the tree layers, the shrub layers, and everything else. When we built a new pathway that's 30 meters above the creek now. The old existing blacktop or paved pathway is too close to the creek, so next year we're going to use it as an access to get out some of the hawthorn trees, but we're going to remove the blacktop. The new trail is already existing, and in that 30-meter buffer on both sides of the creek, the riparian area, we're going to reestablish with all native trees and shrubs. And that's the plan. So a 200-meter stretch, 30 meters on both sides. Some of it will be Trembling Aspen, other species will be different locations. The Trembling Aspen need to keep their feet wet, so we have to be careful where we plant them. Yeah.
I love that expression. Trembling aspen like to keep their feet wet. It's a nerdy naturalist thing to say. I love it. Well, and I like that. Sorry. Go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, no,
go ahead.
I have another question, but if you have a comment before we move to the next question, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. So this is a question from Michaela. Sorry if I missed it, but can you explain how or what started or sparked this restoration project?
So a couple things. We've been working on the culprits for a decade now. We try to do like a 100-meter stretch. So we've been doing bits and pieces for years now. When the ministry came in and worked on the highway project, we have specific funds for the Trembling Aspen Grove, but also money was given to Saanich Parks to work on the Cuthbert Holmes Park itself, another big chunk of money. So not only are we doing the creek restoration work, the Trembling Aspen, we're relocating the trail. We're going to do a whole bunch of trail work within the park. We're going to be cutting off undesignated trails. We're doing some invasive work. So I think it's a combination of existing projects that Saanich Parks was already working on, but also the extra funds that we got from the ministry. It's enough money to do a huge project like this. So it's a combination of both.
Good question. Thank you. Any more, Jenny?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, well, I think we're going to sign off unless Rick or Eva have
Oh,
anything.
one question
Yeah.
just came in hot on
Sure.
Facebook. Okay, from
No worries.
Carol is, have they found any interesting items while digging around? So while you've been restorating, have you found anything interesting?
No, as far as archaeological assessment, we were very careful when we had an excavator in here and doing the digging, and we had a quality environmental inspector on site basically the whole time. Our lead biologist, our professional biologist, Dave Clough, he was fantastic. He helped design these. He or one of the staff was on site every day that we're doing that. So we were very careful, and no, we did not. Most of this flat area here was farmland, and it would have been, when they dug out the ditch, they would have flattened this out. So a lot of the stuff that we were digging and removing was just fill that was brought in or dumped here. So no, we didn't find anything significant as far as an archaeological perspective.
Right.
But we were keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good question. Yeah, because undoubtedly this would have been used by Indigenous people before.
Yeah, the Coquets River is it's several kilometers long, and it's one of the main fish-bearing creeks in Victoria. I think
Right.
It's
Significant. Yeah.
It's very significant.
Yeah. Good question. Okay, thank you. Anything else over there, Jenny?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I am not able to flip the camera around without getting everything wet. So just hear my voice and hear the gratitude in my voice. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Eva and Rick, for joining us. And I hope even if you don't live here, that you're inspired to find out about restoration projects around you. And if you are, you can maybe, if you do live around here, feel free to get in touch with Saanich and see how you can help out. And thank you, Eva and Rick, for all the work on this beautiful natural habitat. Even in the rain, it is beautiful. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, fish love rain.
Yep.
So there you go.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe and dry. Bye-bye.